What's up, Mirandi? Because we're back with another Persona 4 video, Persona 4 Golden video, not Revival. And if you haven't played P4, this is spoilers, so, you know. Today I'm ranking all the Persona 4 dungeons. I was about to say dungeoness, but dungeons. And here's the thing. We have them here. I did one for Royal Palaces. I was like, hey, we can do this for here. This will mostly be from the gameplay perspective. I might touch the story a bit. Might. But let's go. Obviously, tell me in the comments below what are your rankings if I played P4. At number 9, I want to keep Yukiko's Castle. It's not a bad dungeon. I feel like a lot of people do overhate it, especially with the puzzles of her just, you know, doing her magic tricks or whatever, and like you step somewhere and she's like, no, go back. Like she does that. But honestly, it's pretty easy. All you have to do, if you go somewhere and she pulls you back, you just have to look at the map and you just see where you haven't gone. And you just follow those steps. It's not that difficult of a dungeon. I feel like a lot of people do overhate this dungeon a lot. It's a very basic dungeon, I feel like. And story-wise, it's fine. I feel like it does drag along a lot. I know I said I won't discuss story, and right here I am. But this feels like a starring dungeon that is very dragging on a lot. And this is an unfair comparison because this game came out prior to P5. But the first dungeon in P5 was, like, I would say way more fun. But if I have to, you know, give it a, a proper comparison, the first train dungeon in P3, that's not a dungeon, but you know what I mean, I think is way better than the P4 dungeon. Because it adds a bit of, alright, urgency. You can make the argument that the P3 dungeon, the first one, is a bit harder than a starting dungeon. But I feel like this is a very basic dungeon. The boss fight is fine, nothing too much. I will continue my P4 PS2 run. I remember the PS2 boss fight of Yukiko was way more fun. Because she was doing a lot of stuff. In Golden, she was like a basic boss fight. So, next up, we have Naoto's dungeon. She is probably, like... I'm like, these two, I feel like you can interchange. My problem with Naoto's dungeon, I don't mind the going back and forth, like... I believe you have to go to the 6th floor, get the key, then go back to the 4th floor. Or is it the 8th floor, get the key, and go back to the 6th floor? I need to remember. But you need to get a key, open a door, you need to get another key, stuff like that. You need to do a key card. You need to do shenanigans like this, and then you fight Naoto. It's a good dungeon. Story-wise, it's good. My major issue and the reason why this dungeon is right here, is because of the boss fight. The boss fight, literally for a late dungeon, sucks. The boss fight does nothing. It's a very, like, she's tanky, and yeah. But here's the thing. My argument always with Persona games have been, if the boss can't one-shot you or can't lock you down with gimmicks, the boss fight ain't that tough. That's my perspective. Maybe early on it could be because you're trying to understand the mechanics and stuff. But later on, as far as Naoto's dungeon is concerned, it's not that tough. And I believe this was the only boss fight I did first try when I was first playing P4. I mean, no, later on all the boss fights were... I did do Izanami's first try as well, but I was over leveled. I was like, yeah, broken. And I think I also did Murray's first try. But the thing was simple, is that this dungeon, I feel like the boss fight is pretty much nothing. She does do ailments on you, but it's like, I'll be honest, it was just... like, I was waiting. Okay, so is she gonna do something? All right, half health. Is she gonna do something? All right. And I never saw what she does. Oh, like, that just means she just can't do anything. And it felt like she did not have any mechanics, and she wasn't, like, one-shotting and stuff like that. And she didn't even have multiple turns, which none of the other bosses have. But I felt like if they don't want to give her gimmicks, just give her, like, something, right? So... unless I'm missing if she had multiple turns. But she just felt like her boss fight was like... what's funny, you come from the Kubo boss fight. And after Naoto's boss fight, I would say is the best boss fight in the game. And then Naoto's boss fight is in the middle, which is like, okay. Like, I don't know. Really, this is just weird to me. Alright. Kanji's dungeon. This dungeon is very good. I actually do like this dungeon. It has its fair, like, mini bosses there. Yukiko's dungeon also had one. I did not mention it. But I like the boss fight in Kanji's dungeon. This is like the first dungeon where you get full 4 party members. And they utilize, in that boss fight, they utilize all of those party members. Like, okay, you can build Narukami for all of them. But, like, the boss fight with Shadow Kanji and his about, like, muscle men, minions, whatever. is like really good because you have Kanji that does a lot of damage. You have the muscle man that can do a lot of damage, but the muscle man have their weaknesses, which I believe Chi and Yukiko can target, and it's like really really fun. Like I just love this boss fight so much that it's like, all right, they did a lot of good stuff because this is the first boss fight where you get all four party members, and it utilizes all four party members really really well. I feel like that's why the boss fight is in this is really good. The puzzle is fine. You have the mini boss. You pick up the stuff. It's pretty basic stuff, but I would say this is a really good dungeon in my opinion. Next, I'm gonna bring up Izanami. Izanami, I probably might overhate her a lot, underrate her a lot. I feel like her dungeon is good, but she's a victim of what I like to call late Persona game boss. This issue is with the P5 final bosses. This issue is with the P4's final boss and bosses. P3, the PS2 one, not much. Because that, the final boss of P3, PS2 is built different. Not Reload. I'm talking about the journey, not episode, I guess. But, like, I feel like Izanami is one of those bosses where the dungeon is good. You have 3 boss fights, but they're nothing. As at this point in the game, you have just too much stuff. If you're playing Persona 4 for the first time, or maybe you're just doing challenge runs, this could be a very, very tough dungeon. But I feel like if you're playing like you know what you're doing, this is a very easy dungeon to go through. With 3 boss fights, and the final boss fight has 2 phases, but one of them is like a half phase, kind of. You have to take her HP down to a certain amount or stuff like that. This feels like they could have done more with this. It's just, I feel like because it's a late game dungeon and Izanami does, like, even though she has a lot of mechanics, she can't kill you that easily. It's a very, like, very, I feel like, easy dungeon, and like you can plow through it. That's why it's like bottom here, but it's still a good dungeon, good design dungeon. I like the aesthetic of it, I feel like. All right, so next up, these are like, I feel like now we're going to very good. I think after this, I want to say very good dungeons. All right, so I have like Rize's striptease. I'm sorry, just all right. Let's just go. The tofu shop. Boom. Yeah. So Rize's dungeon. This dungeon is very, like I would say, like Kanji's dungeon and hers can be weird, but past that, I feel like one of those things is that this is the first dungeon that actually goes, oh, we're winning, to, oh, we're losing. Because this dungeon has a hidden boss fight. No, I don't know why the air quotation. This dungeon has a hidden boss fight, which I feel like just puts you at, oh, what? Now, that boss fight has a cheese to it. Like, you can cheese that boss fight. It's not that tough. But when you first go into it blind, you do feel the, like, oh, okay, this is, like, weird. Because first you're going up against Shadow Rize, which is not a true boss fight. It's just pretty easy. And I think once you go into Shadow Teddy, they also full heal, if I'm correct. This isn't a very, like, it's not a difficult boss fight, but at the time when you're going in blind, because the problem is you go fight Shadow Rize, you're prepared for that, and she does her gimmick, she does her stuff, weird movements by the Shadow. I don't know why. I should stop doing these jokes. This is wrong. She does her, like, stuff, and then that's not the actual boss fight. You're actually fighting Shadow Teddy. And then it's like, now the problem is you have to quickly change your strategy, stuff like that for him. And I feel like either it's one of those things where Shadow Teddy has very deadly mechanics. You can easily counter him. But when you first time do it, second time do it, he has very deadly mechanics that can lock you down. That can literally lock you down. And I feel like that's why I really like this dungeon. The puzzle is fine with the lights shutting off on you. And you have to find out and, like, stuff like that. I do like that, and it adds like a sense of horror to it, especially since the boss fight in this dungeon is pretty horror. All right, so the next dungeon I will have to say is Magatsu Inaba. This is probably my favorite dungeon in terms of puzzle. I really like, you have to, like, there's a locked door and you have to go from somewhere else to bottom, and that's the only way. You have to find your path, and then you have to beat like a gatekeeper basically to open the door, and you go there. It's pretty fun. This is the boss fight of this has similar format to Rize's dungeon, but it's an actual boss fight. Whereas Rize, the Shadow Rize portion is a very like it's a boss, but it's not an actual boss. You don't beat her. The actual boss is Shadow Teddy, which you beat. In this, you have what you call it, Adachi and Amino Sagiri. Both of them are real boss fights, and Adachi, and I believe the game also prior to this gives you Soma, like items to it. And the whole concept of it is that you need to survive. You need to beat Adachi, and this is you have to beat Adachi, and then you have Amino Sagiri, which has like, you know, your health, and as far as I remember, your health does heal from Rize's dungeon, Rize's boss fight to Shadow Teddy's boss fight, but in this, your health doesn't heal back. And this fight I really love, even though it's a late dungeon fight, so you're pretty much broken, but it does test your stamina. Now, you can basically full heal, but I really love this boss fight, and the reason it's above Rize's dungeon is because I really love the puzzle going down and then fighting the gatekeeper, which is relatively tough, I'll say. And the final boss fight where it's like surprises you, but this time with an actual boss fight. So next up, I actually want to keep this guy, bro. I would say this guy is very okay. The Kubo boss fight is, I feel like, one of the hardest fights in Persona, and the hardest in Persona 4, because this fight, like, I say that fights, like I've said in the past, that a good Persona fight is where the bosses have gimmicks to lock you down or one-shot you, right? Kubo does both. Not one-shot you, but he does a lot. And this is where he, like, early on, where you can be broken, but it's one of those things where you aren't really there to be the broken protagonist. Because I feel like this is where this boss fight is hell. Kubo's dungeon I really love. It's a game, a theme aesthetic, and there's a maze, stuff like that. It's fun. I like it. And you have to find a key. You have to fight a shadow to get the key. It's fun. It's pretty fun. But the boss fight is hell. This is like, you have Kubo, the baby version, Shadow Kubo, and then you have his armored toy version, which you need to destroy. You do an all-out attack. You fight the baby version. You keep attacking him, and the baby version, like, regenerates into his toy version again with the swords and stuff, with the Lego bricks, whatever you want to call, blocks, whatever you want to call it. And you can kind of get him out of that early on if you fight, but the threshold is really high. And, you know, it's a very tough boss fight where this boss has, what, 2 different HP sets. It's not even that his armored version and his baby version has the same HP, it's just his defense gets higher. No, his armored version has a separate defense HP stat and his baby version, and every time he like builds up his armor, his armor gets a full heal. Not his baby version, that'd be too much. And he does a lot of stuff. He also ice breaks and like he does a lot. He also, like, here's the thing, Yukiko I think is really broken, does a lot of damage. Kubo counters her. Kubo counters Yukiko. Like, he is very tough. He, like, just does too much. And he can also do Megidola. He does a lot of damage, and and his stuff is very random too, because his armor version has different mechanics, and then his baby version has different moves. So he does very random stuff. It's like really hard to counter. Like, you can, but it's really hard. All right, so we got 2 more dungeons up. Everybody knows what's gonna be first. All right, number 2 I think is Memories. This, oh my god, Memories is a very beautiful dungeon. I want to keep it 1, but there's a reason I'm not. Memories is a very, like, Marie's dungeon is very beautiful. It's very emotional, very beautiful. Like, one of the best. Like, I know I said I won't talk about stories, but the way the gameplay works, it's very narratively chef kiss. This dungeon also, like, has a gimmick overall. Not just the boss fight, but the dungeon where your stamina, every boss fight, you lose, like, I'm saying ki from Dragon Ball, but MP and health. But, like, you have to also, there's, like, a portion where, like, there are spider webs or whatever, and you have to open them, and it's, like, you can get, like, fights there, which are, like, so this dungeon forces you to fight a lot and make you lose a lot of your stamina quick. Like, this dungeon does that. And you basically can't use your already existing weapons you have. So it kind of kinda makes you a bit, weaker, and to avoid you being too broken. And Murray's dungeon is one of the dungeons which actually counters Hasotobi. If you don't know, Hasotobi is like a very powerful move. It's also in P5, but a very powerful move in P4. Murray counters that. Now, I've seen a lot of people not understand one thing about this dungeon. I gotta talk about this. So, during this dungeon, so let me open this. Paprika. Boom. Alright. So you get these paprikas, wall paprikas. It could be for ice and everything, stuff like that. Right? You can get these from P4. You can get this in Murray's dungeon. A lot of people don't understand the need for these. So the whole point is that Murray's boss fight. Alright, I gotta actually. Yeah, wiki. I'll pause. Alright, so you fight Murray. This is nothing. This fight is nothing. This first phase is nothing. Ever get it at. Like, she's nothing. This, however, like, she does this. So a lot of people think you need Megidola for this fight, which I feel, okay, we get it at. Damn. A lot of people think they need like Megidola for this fight, which is not true, because during Murray's dungeon, you get a lot of stuff like white paprikas and stuff like that you have to use against her. And you don't have physical paprikas as far as I know. Yeah, we get a Joker. So Hasotobi is countered. And this is such a fun fight, in my opinion. Yukiko destroys this fight if you have a red paprika. Yukiko just burns her, like, up. Okay, yeah, we get it. Fire skills. So, a lot of people don't get that. What basically paprikas do is they're, like... I should really tell you guys this. Okay, I'm dumb. I can't find it. I don't think it was paprikas, but it was something that, like, removes those repel. I gotta check. I gotta go do this dungeon again. But maybe it was a skill, but you basically have to do that to do a lot of damage to her. Damn, I feel embarrassed now. I scream like, people don't understand this dungeon. But this is a very beautifully crafted dungeon, I would say. That boss fight is really good as well. And this is one of the dungeons where Naoto's Mudo and Hama skills really help. And Yukiko if you have her Mudo skill. Next up is Heaven. The best song in Persona. In Persona, I'd say. And the best dungeon in P4. This is a basic dungeon where you just fight boss fights. There's no puzzle to it. You just go straight forward. There's a bit of tension, Nanako. The boss fight against Namatame really tests your ability to make various personas, because Namatame can basically control your allies at times, use them against you, and basically he changes this atmosphere in the air where there can be some RNG involved, because if you can either guess what magic attack is pretty powerful, or you can wait for Namatame to attack and just wait and see what attack is he using. So you can understand that, okay, this magic attack will do a lot of damage. This is also one of the fights which kinda counters Hasotobi, but this is a very good, this Namatame fight, in my opinion, is the best fight in Persona. Because it tests your knowledge, your ability to make various personas, and use them in this fight. What kind of personas you made? Do they nullify these attacks? Repel these attacks? Because the damage that output, Namatame does to you, when there's a specific air, if wind damage does more, and he uses that air, and so he will do wind damage, and he will do a lot of damage. You will do as well in return, but he'll do a lot, and then you also control your party members. This is a really good fight. This is my ranking. If I have to grade them, by grading I usually grade them from the basis of these dungeons are interchangeable in the sense that if you say I like this dungeon more, and if it's in that grade tier, I won't argue. I'd have to keep it like this. Actually, no, this. I'll actually want to keep it like this. Yeah. By that, I mean, if, don't look at the grades A, B, C, D. That doesn't mean they're bad or good. But the point of grades is, if you argue Murray's Dungeon is number 1, I won't argue. I think the argument can be made there. But if you're going to say Kubo is 1, or Kubo is an S tier, then I need proper arguments. But tell me in the comments below if you have played P4. And what are your dungeons ranking, or what is your favorite dungeon? What is your favorite boss fight? And I usually ask these types of questions, so let me think of something. Alright, so I usually ask weird questions at the end, or very basic fun questions. If you wanted to smell something, don't get weird with this. If you wanted to smell something in a video game, something, not someone, please, something in a video game. Now that I said someone, somebody might. Okay, shut up. If you want to smell, if you ever got a chance, or if you want to smell something in a video game, what would it be? What do you want to smell from a video game? Tell me in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe, click on the bell. See you guys next time with another Persona Shin Megami Dragon Ball Fate Water video. Consider subscribing and trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year. I'm looking to stop recording. Bye 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 bye.